Hi, we are working on our pattern McCalls 6932, and in this step we are working, you will need piece number 4 and yoke number 5, and we are going to do steps number 11 and 12 and 13. So get your pieces and get your pattern and we will get started. We're going to start with our back piece number 4 and we are on step 11. We're going to make that box pleat up at the back. So up here I had you just clip up here where it has the little lines, so you're going to clip here and clip here, and you can see that there's a arrow where you take where it shows the little circle moving towards the big circle. So if we unpin our pattern, you have double. You have 2 of those. So I'm going to keep the pattern on for a second so I can show you how that would work. So if I'm going to pull that circle to that, I would have a second one over here that I would pull that circle to another one over here. So you're going to have like a mirror image to make that box pleat. So I'm going to remove my pattern and show you how that works. So here's my notch. I'm going to put a pin where my notch is because I can see it, but maybe you can't see it. So here's my little circle where I marked it by making a little clip. Here's my big circle. And on the other side, here's my little circle. And here's where's my big circle? Must be, I'm going to mark it again. It's going to go right here. So when I clipped it, I didn't clip all the way through the second layer. And that happens all the time. But now I have it marked. So I'm going to pull this over to my outside and I can pin it in place. And then I'm going to pull this one to my outside and pin it in place. So I've basically made a little box pleat in the center, moving out from the center in the back of my shirt. I'm going to straighten out my wrinkles in my shirt. And I'm going to grab my iron and I'm going to press that pleat in. So what I did was I just moved from that center out. So I moved my inner clips to my outer clips and it made that box pleat. And now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew across to keep those in place. So step number 11 is done. I've just sewn across to keep those pleats from moving. And I can take out all my pins. And now we are on the next page. I can turn my instruction page over, which is a good feeling, right? So now it tells me I need to get my piece number 5. So I've marked all my marks, so I can take off my pattern. And it says I need 1 yoke section, so I can take 1 piece and put it to the side, and now I need the other piece. And so with right sides together, so I'm going to take the right side and put it to the right side of my upper back, and I'm gonna sew, I'm gonna pin it even, and these pieces have a little bit of a curve to them, so I'm gonna pin it, and this piece, the yoke and the upper back should match evenly, and I'm gonna pin with those edges even. So do you see how that matches? And I'm gonna pin that, and I'm gonna sew across there with 5/8 inch seam allowance. And it's just one layer of the yoke. I put the other yoke aside. And oops, I grabbed like 6 pins. They all stuck together. Okay. I'm gonna pin that, and then I'm gonna sew it 5/8. And when I finish sewing that, the instructions tell me not to iron it. Usually I like to iron everything, but the instructions tell me not to, so I'm gonna listen to my instructions. So I've pinned that. Do you see how that is pinned? And now I'm gonna go sew it. So I finished that step. I sewed the yoke to the top, to the back. So now we are going to sew the shoulder seams. So I need to get my my fronts. So I did my pocket. So my fronts are ready right here. So I'm gonna get my first front. And if you look at your fronts, I have a shoulder that has a notch, and that shoulder notch will match up to my shoulder. You want to make sure that if you look at it, there should be a kind of obvious armhole that will go towards the outside, and make sure it's right sides together. So I'm going to line up that shoulder, matching my notches. I'll put it on camera. So this is my shoulder here. I'm going to put my right side together, my shoulder. And I'm just going to pin that. So I'll do this side, and then I will sew that, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get my other side, and I will sew this side. And that's going to take us all the way through sewing step 13. And then I'm going to sew this, and then we're going to press it. So here's my pinning, and I'll be right back after I sew it. Okay, so I sewed those shoulder seams, and my last step is to press those seams, just the shoulder seams, towards the back. So you have to first set the seam. So I set the seam flat. And then I'm going to press it towards the yoke. So I'm going to press it towards the yoke. And that's it. I'm going to do both shoulders. Press it first on the inside, press it on the outside. Make sure that seam is really well opened. Okay, great. I'll do both seams, and I will see you on the next video. Great.